Welcome to day 2 of the 2018 Adidas MLS Player Combine here in Orlando City. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw joining you for the second day of game coverage from this combine as we head into the SuperDraft on Friday at 11 a.m. on MLSsoccer.com. All of these young players have had one opportunity to come out and impress these coaches. They've now sat in the hotel for about a day and a half more, stewing over that game, and now we are ready to go between Team X in white and Team Nemeziz in black. For Team X in goal on the ball there is Paul Christensen getting his first minutes of the combine. From left to right along this back line, Ben White, Josh Morton here on the ball, who scored in their first day, and Andre Morrison here at right center back. George Campbell will play at right back. In midfield, Chris Lema out of Georgetown University will be the holding midfielder. In front of him will be Diego Campos and Paul Calvet-Planelas. And up front, an attacking three from left to right. Jason Wright, Mamadou Giarsi, and Franzi Pirot, all three of which came off the bench in the last game, and all three of which now get a chance to start this. Mamadou Giarsi on the ball now, opens up the play down the left wing for White. White with the cross-field pass. Pirot now chasing the ball, and he's able to get it under control. Pirot turns by Smith, gets into the box, and can't finish. On the flip side, for Team Nemeziz wearing black, it'll be Michael Nelson out of SMU in goal. Wyatt Omsberg will play at, I think, what me and Bobby will call the left defender spot. Graham Smith will play in the center defender spot, and Lucas Stauffer on the right side. This formation for Team Nemeziz, a bit of a 3-4-3 type thing. And holding midfield, Ken Krolicki. Alongside him, Ricky Lopez-Espin, who had a goal at Creighton University in the first game, and Matthias Pusala. In front of them, Mohamed Chiao. And on the two wings, Brian White and Danny Musovski. Up top, the lone youth international here at this combine, Isaka Naimawero, will be the center forward for this one. Bobby, day 2. These players have gotten to know each other a little bit more. They've gotten one game out under their belts. What's the key that you want to see today?
Yeah, on day 1, you're mostly just trying to get the rust off after taking a couple weeks off after the college season. You mostly want to get the nerves out. So day 2 is a time to really shine. Day 1, you're really just trying not to blow it. It's a chance for coaches to get to know you. But day 2 is really to show what you're all about.
For these two squads, Team Nemeziz in black going left to right, Team X in white going right to left. A lot of players who didn't get to start in the first game get a chance to start here in this game. And one of the things we see in a combine like this is players that are forced to play a number of positions. Team Nemeziz, Bobby, coming out, and we couldn't really figure out the formation, trying to get their guys in a good position.
And we talked to their assistant coach, Rodrigo Marion, from NYCFC, and he basically said it's just about getting guys into their best spots. They don't have a ton of defenders on their roster. They don't have a ton of center mids, so they're just trying to get the attackers on the field in positions that can suit them. They're not too worried about the tactics. They're not that worried about the formation. They just want to put guys in spots where they can thrive.
Todd Yeagley, the head coach there from Indiana University. Rodrigo Marion, as you mentioned, the assistant on the other side. Boaz Ayani out of East Tennessee State University, former Kansas City Wizards goalkeeper, and Adrian Scola, the assistant.
This is an important moment on this set piece for Chris Lema. Actually, it's going to be Campos that takes it. One thing about both Campos and Lema is they are set piece specialists. They want to show that if the ball comes to a dead ball, that they can help their team.
So it'll be Campos, the Clemson Tiger, to step up with the right-footed cross. Like to up in the box, headed away, still alive now. Played out wide. Morrison with the strike, and he puts it in the top corner.
Wow.
Andre Morrison, the center back at the University of Hartford.
What do you say to that, David?
That's a center back strike, right?
That's a center back strike. How about that?
I don't think Pat Onstead could have saved that one. That was one crazy strike.
I have no analysis. That was phenomenal.
You see the highlight here. Ball gets played out wide. Morrison just puts his foot through it.
Look at that technique. Compact, got over the ball. Maybe a change of position in this combine for Morrison. We were saying after yesterday he needed to do more today. He played center mid. He wasn't that strong. He needed a big day today.
Andre Morrison.
You know, David, it's not as much about the goal as it is the confidence. right? Coaches won't so much look for him to score goals, but having scored that goal, he'll now have more confidence, he'll have no bravado about his play, and it could help him for the next 75 minutes.
Morrison, young Jamaican center back, had a couple good PDL seasons as Christensen comes out and makes the punch. And it seems like a foul was called as Morton and Nemeziz were running down the field next to each other. So it'll be now a free kick opportunity for Team Nemeziz to try and tie this one up.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a very good call. Looks like Morrison actually didn't touch him. But you know, it's preseason for the refs too. We'll let him off the hook on that one. Pusala lining it up.
Here's Pusala, the local out of UCF. He runs over it. Musovski with the shot, and it hits the wall. The officials for this game, David Bari, our head official, his two assistants, Madrid Koric and Harris Besic. Fourth official, Matt Franz. And there will be video replay in all of these Combine games. The VAR today, Eunice Markchi. We had no video reviews in our first day of games. Jason Wright there getting dragged down.
That set piece didn't count, but it was a good awareness by Calvet Planelis. One thing he talks about a lot when you speak to him about soccer is his mind for the game, his awareness of the field. So even though that play might not have counted, the coaches will have noticed he had his head up and he was ready to get the ball back into play right away.
So it'll be another set piece coming here for this squad.
George Campbell free in the middle.
Still played in and wide open there. Trying to put it in was Pirot.
David, I'd love to see a center back for Team Nemeziz yell at somebody right now. They're already down 1-0. They almost give up a second goal. And on something as simple as a set piece like that, to get guys free, to let guys get in behind you, there needs to be accountability. This is a moment for a defender for Team Nemeziz to step up, show he's a leader, and show he's going to hold his teammates accountable. And it's hard. He doesn't know these guys. He doesn't know who to yell at. They're not positive about their assignments. But still, one of the things about turning from the college game to the professional game is just being willing to step up.
We talked about the lack of defenders on this roster, and that's why the formation change came about. And right now, this team's struggling as Stauffer makes that play.
The second time Christensen came off his line well. As a smaller goalkeeper in this draft, one thing he wants to be able to show is that he can make up for that lack of size in other ways, like coming off his line.
Portland Timbers Academy, young man who's been around the U.S. youth national teams. Paul Christensen didn't play in the first day. Eric Dick was the goalkeeper for this squad, and Dick now the fifth keeper here at this Combine, so he will rotate as the backup goalkeeper basically for all four teams, and all the goalkeepers will split the minutes across the draft.
For those watching at home, before crosses come in, look at the movement in the box beforehand. As one coach told us yesterday, it's not what happens when the ball is played, it's what happens in the 5 seconds before. Look at the awareness of the defenders and the movement of the runs in the box by the forwards.
So it'll be Pusala, corner kick, down at the near post. Morrison knocks it away. And that'll roll out for Team Nemeziz in black.
Morrison taking the early initiative too, getting his team up. You can see him communicate, you can see him trying to get his line up to move his whole team forward.
Stauffer now sitting deep on the ball. Is it? Rotates it wide to Graham Smith, playing center back in this formation once again. Smith, more of a central midfielder most of his college career, but played center back in day one, and that's one of the big question marks here, Bobby, is if he can make that transition positionally.
And it's a big moment, too, because he's got two players who had a good day on either side of him yesterday. So he doesn't have to show well for himself, but he has to show better than the guys next to him. Both Stauffer and Omsberg impressed on day one. So if he can step up and be the best player on his team today with two top defenders nearby, it says even more about him.
All of these players trying to prove that they deserve to be taken on Friday, 11 a.m. on MLSsoccer.com. The 2018 MLS SuperDraft. We're a little over a month out from MLS Cup, and already the new season has started as Stauffer finds the feet of Lopez
Fantastic
Espin.
pass by Stauffer.
Mistaken pass there by Nahuero. And now Wright with some wide open space to go back the other way. Campos charging forward. He's got Perot off to his left. Griarce to his right. Campos plenty of space, wide open for Perot, and he is offside as he put it in the back of the net.
This is one thing. Team X has happened a couple times. They're getting exposed in the middle of the field, and it's going to be tough for them to manage emotionally today. With the new formation, nobody expect them to be perfect tactically. Nobody expect them to be tight in terms of their shape or formation. But just individually, they need to find moments to shine. So can somebody organize their team? Can someone find a way to make an opportunity out of what could potentially be a problem?
Perot there just an inch offside. Put that ball in that far post pretty well. Past Michael Nelson.
One thing I'm looking for today in moments like this, when the black team, Nemeziz, is in possessions, can Krolicki get on the ball? In the first game, he was eager, he was brave, but he just gave too many passes away. Will he try and get it on again, and can he be more efficient?
Chow now on the ball. His cross comes in, touched at the near post. Still alive. White in a foot race. He goes down, and he's going to get the call. So it was Ben White versus Brian White. And Brian White of Duke University comes out on top here. Chow with the early cross. Naiwamera got a toe to it, Bobby, but couldn't direct it on frame.
An announcer's nightmare. White, trying to defend White. Trying to keep track of them.
Brian White, PDL Golden Boot winner, goal scorer out of Duke University. So,
and then
if
Wright,
you're curious.
And Jason Wright as well.
And then
you
Ben
got to be
White
on your game today, guys.
out of Gonzaga. Well, it's day 2, so I'm back in my flow as well as the players.
It's true. You got the nerves out.
Free kick coming here. It looks like Pusala will have another set piece opportunity.
Look right around
to try
the
and
penalty
tie
spot.
this one up.
Look for the peeled back run by somebody on the black team to go right for the penalty spot, and Pusala to play it on the ground there. Nobody from the white team is taking the initiative to block out that space.
As we mentioned, VAR is in effect. So our head official in this one, David Barry, holding up as he's getting some communication. I think the question mark around whether or not it's a penalty kick. That foul occurring just on the edge of the box.
Perot on Omsberg is one to watch if it gets in the air. Perot's given him 3 yards, choosing to not try and match up with Omsberg and fight through the pick. But it's risky because Omsberg's one of the quicker players on the field right now. So if he gets a good first step, Perot, he's gotten tighter to him now.
Still holding up play here as these officials talk through the play. And as you mentioned, Wyatt Omsberg coming in 3rd in the 30-meter run, the speed element of the testing, and 5th in the agility portion. And for a player who had his speed questioned, that's a big one. And now, after the review, we will point to the spot, and there'll be a penalty kick coming now for Team Nemeziz.
Love Danny Mosovsky putting his hand up right away. Looks like he's going to defer to Brian White. That surprises me. Mosovsky is a stone-cold goal scorer.
Brian White, 17 goals in PDL, led Duke to the tournament as well. He earned it, so he will take it, the right-footed shot, and he gets it under the goalkeeper and in as we tie this one up. Team Nemeziz here in the 13th minute. Brian White had an assist in the first game. Now he gets himself a goal, Bobby.
He had a strong first game, but the notes we had on his performance on the first day was that he was productive from wide. He got a couple good services in. He was dangerous running 1v1 at the defender. So for him to tack on a goal and show that he can do it centrally as well will definitely be a plus on his evaluation.
So White earns the penalty kick and then finishes it off. Brian White, as I said, PDL MVP. Talked to some people at the Red Bull staff where he played. They were very happy with his production, thought he was a player potentially that could fit into their system. A lot of teams now like those wide forwards who can come in field and be finishers as well. As Lopez Espin earns the throw in. Let's look at a replay, Bobby, of this penalty kick here. The VAR reviewing it, and it looks like the beginning of the contact does occur in the box. So the penalty kick, the right call, a clear and obvious error identified by the VAR and communicated to the head official.
Though. I know it's right, and I applaud VAR for getting it right, but that is cruel.
So Brian White puts the cross in. It's headed back out. Bobby, how many more cards do you think you would have gotten if you played with VAR, with video review?
I plead the fifth on questions like that.
I appreciate that.
You know, I did what I followed the rules. Let me say that.
Who's the player you've played with that has the most gamesmanship, you could call it, as Team X breaks out here? I'll let Bobby think about it for a moment longer. Jason Wright charging down the right side. He takes the shot, and it's right on the goalkeeper's hands.
Nice, intelligent run by Garossi on that play. He peeled out. He had his timing right. He didn't find the ball, but he both gave himself an opportunity to then cut in towards goal, but he also cleared away the center for Wright to potentially go down the middle.
Jason Wright, the young Jamaican player as well.
David, by the way, I can't answer your question on who would share the most gamesmanship. There's rules, man. There's a code of ethics amongst professional players. We can't share things.
What
like
happens
that.
when you break that code?
I don't want to find out. I'll tell you that.
It's very Job Bluth of you right now for Mr. Bobby Warshaw. Lucas Stoffer will take the throw in at a Creighton University. Started the first game at left back.
Moments like this, David, look who wants the ball. Who's demanding? It's a tough spot, but who's willing to take the ball in that position?
Chow gets it laid in front of him. He's in a battle with Morrison, and Morrison shoves Chow off the ball.
And
now plays the ball up the line.
Well done on both sides there by Morrison.
Right now charging Musovski, showing a little recovery speed, and makes the play defensively. Bobby, we mentioned the lack of defenders on this team. Musovski and Brian White are basically being asked to play as pseudo wingbacks in this formation.
As we said earlier, with the weird formation, it both creates a potential problem and an opportunity. Musovski and White are both more natural strikers, but if they can show they can play both ways, if they can show they can play a potential wingback, which is what a lot of MLS teams are doing, it'll help them shoot up the draft board.
What do you make of the fact that so many teams around the world and in MLS are shifting to a 3-5-2? Chance to cross right now. Played all the way over. Good touch there on that far post. Not able to direct it on goal.
Soccer is all about cycles, David, and tiki-taka changed everything, right? Barcelona changed everything. It made everyone else react. What system can you do to match up against that? And teams struggled for a while, you know, the Bayern power. And then Antonio Conte with Juventus, Italy, and now Chelsea decided the way you match up against it is you protect the middle, you clog the midfield a little more, and you put two forwards up top to take advantage of potential counterattacks. And then once it works for one club, obviously the others copy it. I mean, professional sports are a copycat industry. When one thing works, everyone else tries to copy it. So when everyone tried to copy Barcelona's model of tiki-taka, it was only a matter of time before a new model came along and tried to do something to counter it.
Seems to fit a lot of players in the world right now as well. There aren't a lot, maybe, of true fullbacks and a lot of wingers that can struggle at times defensively, but can learn how to play a wing back.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No, it's a second good point. It fits the modern player a little better.
The modern game, modern football, of course. Bobby was waiting for that one, so I just threw it in there for him as this one rolls out for a goal kick here at Orlando City Stadium. Just south of 20 minutes played in the first half of the first game of day 2 of the 2018 Adidas MLS Player Combine. A whole host of over 70 college players, as well as Youth International, a 7-man GA class for 2018. A couple of seniors that have already been signed to MLS contracts.
Look behind the play right now. Look at Omsberg a little behind. That's the kind of little detail scouts will be looking for. We know he's a good defender, but he needs to get up quicker with his line there.
Chow's able to win the corner kick for TeamNemeziz. It was a bright start for Team X, an unbelievable goal from Andre Morrison. TeamNemeziz, though, Bobby, seems to have settled down.
They haven't, fully to their credit. They're a little behind the 8 ball, we said a few times with the formation. It was always going to take a second or two to get used to, but they're getting there.
So it'll be Pusala, the UCF man out of Helsinki, Finland, to take this corner kick. It's his third set piece opportunity of this first half. Next to drive it to the far post. Omsberg's there, but he can't get off his feet, and it'll just bounce off him and out for the goal kick.
Christensen almost got caught in no man's land. As we said earlier, with his size, he really needs to prove this week that he can deal with crosses in the box, and he almost got lost there, but did smart to drop back and get back in his goal.
What do you make of players who have gone through college but came out of an MLS academy? Do you think that they're viewed any differently than players who didn't play in that setup?
It's tough to say. You know, you probably get both parts of the academy. You learn a little bit more of the passing style, and then you go to college and you learn the maturation process. To a certain extent, academies are a little pampered now. They've got nice fields, they've got nice balls.
Naimaro with the strike, but it goes wide of that near top corner.
So it helps to go into a college system, David, where you are the freshman rookie who has to carry the balls and pick up the cones. So to both learn the soccer and the technical part, and then you go to college and you learn to mature, you become a little bit more of a leader and you grow up. So I think it would be a bonus for guys who have both of them under their belt.
Bobby, very strongly believes in the carrying of the balls and the development of these young players.
I absolutely do.
I'm sure you're a very kind captain as a senior to all of your freshmen coming in.
I was. Certainly more kind than, that's just the way the world's changing, right?
You were more kind than they were to you?
You're definitely, partially because you're not allowed to do. I mean, you get in a lot more trouble if they were going to do what they were doing to us.
White with the interception. Pirot now battling, and Team X is able to come away with the ball. The collision there in midfield, advantage played. Pirot now cutting in field. Gets by Krolicki, throws it out wide right to Jason Wright. Trying to get by Omsberg, gets to the end line, and his cross taken by the goalkeeper.
Another huge moment for both those players. Wright needs to show that he can be players one-on-one, and that's the question about Omsberg's game. Can he defend with the wingers 1v1 in near the box? Can he get that big frame of his feet moving quickly? And there he did well. It was a little dangerous that he got the cross off, but ultimately he didn't do it in the way that he wanted. And for any center back against a quick winger, it's always going to be tough.
Omsberg out of Dartmouth University, not a soccer powerhouse. And so some question marks around his game. He had an extremely successful college career. Came from Maine, which is also not a soccer powerhouse as well. So question marks of his ability to step up to that next level. Coach is very interested to see what he does here at the Combine. I guess the one fortunate thing for him, Bobby, is lack of defenders on his team. He and Graham Smith got to play the full 80 minutes in the first game, as these halves are only 40 minutes here at the Combine.
David, one thing I'm looking for in moments like this is, can Paul Calvert-Planellis get on the ball more often? He came through with the Spanish academy system. When he talks about the game, he talks about how he loves to have the ball on the ground. He loves to connect passes and get into fluid possession. But through this first game and a half so far, I haven't seen him do that often. I just haven't seen him get on the ball often enough.
Calvert-Planellis, one of the players coaches have really enjoyed watching. Morrison with the giveaway. Charging forward now is Brian Wright, our goal scorer. Newamera with the shot. He's asking for a handball on Morton, no call made. Giarce with the layoff off his chest. Now a chance to run forward for Team X. It's Campos on the ball. The left-footed strike, and that curls wide.
Nicely defended by the black team. When you're on counters like that, make sure you drop, get compact, have your defensive midfielder track the ball. Yes, the white squad and Campos didn't score, but more credit goes to Team Nemeziz for their defending than for anything Team X did on the ball.
Mamadou Giarce with that chest down off the clearance was a creative way to control and trap that ball for his team.
One thing I'm excited to see right now is that Team X is trying to press a little higher. One thing we talked about in the first game yesterday, David, was that the pressure was low. It allowed a lot of players on Team Predator to look good because they didn't have a lot of pressure. It's a big opportunity if the defenses on each team can put more pressure on the ball and make it tougher for the players, because that's more of what these players will see in MLS. So what the professional coaches will say is, yes, he was good at passing, he was good on the ball in that first game, but it was easy. How can we trust that he'll do it in a professional game? So for each team to come out and try and press and try and push the envelope and make it tougher on the opponent actually is a great chance for these players to show what they have.
Pusala closes down Josh Morton there. And he'll go back out now. This time a throw-in for the team in black, Team Nemeziz. Myself and Bobby Warshaw here. Of course, Andrew Wiebe roving around getting information from all of these coaches and GMs, as is Sam Stachel. So they will join us later on in our broadcast. Break down what these teams are thinking, what else is going on in the MLS offseason. As the transfer window's open, trades are flying. Sounds like the Philadelphia Union may be trading up to get themselves a draft pick, hosting that draft in their home city, a chance to bring in a good young player. For a team that hasn't made a ton of moves so far in this offseason. Pirot now on the ball.
Interesting note about the first draft pick by LAFC. I heard it last year from an MLS coach. I read it this year on Twitter by Tuto Roman, who...
Cross comes in here from Campos, well defended.
And I read it on Twitter, but precedent in MLS draft shows that first pick to be somewhere around $250 or $250,000 or $300,000 in allocation money. And that's generally for the third or fourth pick, David, so it might be a little higher for the first pick. But LAFC said they're willing to listen to offers. They obviously need to build a full roster, which could take more allocation money. But I found it interesting to see an actual number, market value on those top picks, to be somewhere around $250,000 to $300,000 in allocation money.
Portland trading up last year, NYCFC trading up twice so far in their short time to get Jack Harrison and Jonathan Lewis from those top 4 positions in the draft. And we've heard that similar number. I think Jack Harrison was a swap of picks and around $250,000 in allocation.
And if we put the pieces together, something that our Sam Sketchkull, Stay School, and Matt Doyle, sorry Sam, my roommate on this trip, have pointed out is that LA Galaxy would like to get Ola Kamara, and the Philadelphia Union are likely to try and move up in the draft and offer allocation money, but the Galaxy probably needs more allocation money to get Kamara, so that's a move that would make sense for all parties.
The LA Galaxy, big turnover from last year, falling out of the playoffs as offside is called here. Trying to turn it around this year. Philadelphia Union have only made the one move so far. Corey Burke coming from their USL squad, a Jamaican player. And you see here Isaka Newamero, the young Ghanaian U17 international, Bobby. He's been very aggressive in these early 25 minutes, a couple shots on goal from him.
Yeah, as it hasn't always had a great product. It hasn't always looked gorgeous, but he's gotten around the ball.
Corner kick now coming for this team in white. Sorry, excuse me. The team in black, TeamNemeziz. Here just north of 25 minutes played. As I said, 40-minute halves here in the Combine. And we'll see a whole host of substitutions for this second half, including Ima Tumwasi, a Generation Adidas signing, and Mason Toy, another Generation Adidas signing, a young American center forward. Salah's cross goes through everyone and rolls back out. Bobby, you had a chance to get in the war room yesterday with Mason Toy and talk about his game with him, show a couple clips. What did you take away from that conversation?
I had a chance to talk with Mason Toy, John Moutinho, and Chris Mueller. We pulled up the film of the first game. We talked about things they did well, the things they did poorly. And my big takeaway with all three was that I'm impressed with the way they think about the game. With Mason Toy individually, he actually wanted to stay for 10 minutes after and go even deeper. We talked about how his team got outplayed by Team Predator in the first match and why that was. And I questioned about the overload. It looked to me like Team Predator had an extra player in the center of midfield, and Mason Toy is the number 10 spot on his team, why he didn't drop in, why he made the decision to stay high and not drop in and help his other 2 center midfielders create even numbers in the middle.
Omsberg puts this ball up in the air in his own box. Dangerous moments now for Team X. Finally cleared, not cleanly, but Brian White gets it out of trouble.
And Mason gave an answer. It wasn't the answer I would have liked to have heard. It wasn't the answer I think was right. But the fact is he had thought about it. It was clear that over the progression of the first 25, 30 minutes of the game, it had gone through his mind, and he made a logical, well-thought-out decision. And that's all you can ask for. And I was just happy to see that it occurred to him, and he tried to solve the problem. He might not have done it the way I would have liked to have solved it, but the fact that he tried to do it says a lot about a young player.
He also stayed afterward and was willing to debate with you. Had his points, and I thought that showed confidence, especially for a very young player, Mason Toy, one of the youngest players in this class. You see there Diego Campos out of Clemson University, San Jose, Costa Rica. He actually played high school soccer here in Orlando area with Montverde Academy. A few players in this class coming through the Montverde Academy, what they're building. Diego Campos, an active first half so far, a couple openings he's created. Cross comes in. Jason Wright tries to chest it down. He does. Now switch of the field.
Good vision. Good
Knocked in. Griarsi's shot is blocked. He gets a second chance at it. Hits it off a defender. And now TeamNemeziz can clear it and go back the other way. TeamNemeziz struggling to clear their lines now. Krolicki will get it under control here in central midfield. Ken Krolicki, one of the higher-rated central midfielders here at the Combine, had a quiet first game. You felt like, Bobby. What have you seen in the second game here?
I've seen what I've wanted to see, a little higher pass completion percentage. As you go up in levels, every pass you give away is a potential goal. The probability goes up.
Brian White gets by the first defender. His cross blocked in the end by Morton.
And one thing these coaches will look to see is just limiting turnovers, particularly in bad spots. Krolicki had a couple too many yesterday, but today he's been much sharper.
Lucas Stauffer will draw the foul there on Griarsi. It was a nice pass there, Bobby, from Lopez Espin to lay that ball in for Brian White. Lopez Espin with a goal in the first game. a U.S. Youth International out of Shattuck St. Mary's High School, who played on Elmer Bolovich at Creighton University. Iwamura in the battle there. He's able to win the throw-in for his squad. Naiwamura Mera has played a couple teams in his native Ghana, including with Hearts of Oak, where he came through their U17 and U20 program, making 3 first-team appearances.
Love how Krolicki took it down on his back foot, his left foot, the foot that was facing the field.
Headed away. Brian White, another chance to pick out a teammate. Knocked away by Morrison at the far post. And kept in play here by Perreault. Ranzi Perreault, the Haitian Youth International out of Coastal Carolina. Going coast to coast here. And he can't find the feet of Garce. Continues to put on pressure. Perreault out here getting his cardio in for sure. And Stauffer there is able to earn the throw in for his squad.
Good quick throw by Stauffer. Didn't waste a moment in transition. Here his team goes. A lot of players will walk to get that ball. They'll allow their brain to take a break. But by Stauffer staying fresh and staying ready to go, he gets his chance of team to attack.
Fusalo with the pass there. That just goes a few inches too far.
I think Musovski's a little tired from tracking back.
You see,
I don't blame him. That was a long run.
You see Chris Lemma there on screen, Bobby, a young former Red Bull Academy player out of Georgetown University, and the Red Bulls have said we have an overload of young central midfielders, Sean Davis and Tyler Adams. Of course, at the first team, Adam Najem's rights were traded to Philadelphia last year because they had that glut, and so Lemma's out here trying to prove to another team that he can be useful.
That hurts when you're such a young player to get the no, but the best thing I would tell all these young players to do is to hear a bunch of no's early in their career, because it's a fact of life. It's a fact of having a long professional career. There are a lot of teams that are going to say no to you, but you only need one to say yes. You only need one to give you an opportunity to shine. So I'm sure it hurt Lemma emotionally, but in the long run, it could be a big positive.
We've also seen the Red Bulls have players out of their academy that they don't sign that they end up drafting, like Dan Metzger, who played for their USL team and was a captain when they won the USL championship.
I didn't know that. So they said no. They said no on the homegrown deal, but took him in the draft.
There was a bit of miscommunication, maybe. He maybe didn't want to take the deal. They didn't want to offer it.
One thing Chris Lemma has done really well today, that's got to be the 4th or 5th time he's played the ball from one side to the other. And usually I don't love those passes. I would often find those passes to be overrated. But today, against an opposition who's playing the diamond, Lemma's finding the space. The space to exploit against a diamond is out wide, and that's what Lemma's doing. To his credit, he's doing well on the half turn, finding the other side of the field, and allowing his outside backs to go into the open space.
Corner kick coming up now. It'll be Diego Campos to take. Campos plays it in at the near post. Campos, Clemson Tiger. Will get a second bite at this one. Corner kick comes in. Graham Smith once again wins it at the near post. Allowed to push his line up a little bit. Bobby Warshaw, a good young disciple, becoming one of the best announcers in the game. We'll take a quick break here at the close of this first half, and Andrew Wiebe will step in the booth alongside me. Andrew, always a pleasure.
Am I his savior? Is that what you're saying? If he's a disciple.
Is that how that works?
I mean,
You know better than me.
Many years of Sunday school would teach me that. But no, this is one of those events that I think, the main event right now for all the coaches from an entertainment standpoint, a scouting standpoint, is the Combine. But it's hot stove. This is basically winter meetings, and when you watch guys in the hotel lobby, when you watch them, eating lunch, having coffee in between these games, they're talking about moves. They're talking about possible trades. They're talking about who they might take. They're playing the game. And that's one thing that I think fans maybe need to focus on when they think about this event. It's not just about the draft picks. It's about the overall roster building process.
Well, let's start big, and we can start either – we've got LAFC, who have a lot of players still to bring together, and then the biggest conversation in Major League Soccer, which is Ezekiel Barco and Atlanta United. Let's talk about Atlanta first. What do you see from their roster building? What have you heard around that team?
I mean, Ezekiel Barco is one of those things where they've been very, very hush-hush. They have not been public about the negotiations, and you understand that when you're talking about 8 figures, which is what's been reported. It seems, based on the folks I've been talking to, that that's very close to being done. But with a deal like that, you just never let it cross the finish line before you say something. So I think Barco's a guy that'll be there. I also think you look around that roster and say they're not done yet. Look at the right back position. It is not. It's maybe one deep right now with Franco Escobar and Parkhurst, the captain, probably sticks it out.
With the strike.
Perez, excuse me.
Save made down.
Good hit there from outside the box. Very clean. Just couldn't quite get it to the side of the goalkeeper. But they're not done. They're not done. The investment, the staff that they have, that means they're going to constantly looking to improve their roster. And you look at another move that has been rumored and talked about for a long time down in Argentina. Kaku, Romero Gamara, the Red Bulls. Just waiting for some of those last I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, but I think they're confident that that's going to happen for them as well, and I think they're happy with their offseason. You look at Sasha Kleshin moving on, it's no secret that that was not a player that just came onto the market. There had been some time and some offers and some sniffing around for a while, and they made the move because they want to get younger, and I think part of that means investing on the top end. Yes, it's signing some of the young guys. It's going into the academy. So many homegrown signings for them over the last couple of years, but it's a guy like Romero Gamara who they think can be a difference maker for them.
Chow gets the ball into the box, tries to go by one defender, puts a cross in, and it's headed home. Second goal of the game for TeamNemeziz. Isika Naiwe-Mero with the header. Mohamed Chow sets him up. We've got a 2-1 game.
It's the timing of the run. You see he can pick out when that ball might come in. You see him kind of peel off here, wait, now get into that empty space, and a nice little chip cross in, and then the finish is easy. You just got to be in the right place at the right time. That really is the skill there. A nice run, good physicality to get the space, good goal there.
Chow is able to shift feet, as you said. There was a very good player in the box at Louisville after transferring in from JUCO.
Let's talk about some of the teams that maybe haven't made moves. The Minnesotas of the world, the Phillies of the world. There is some game playing going on with that rumor around Philly trying to trade up. They'll tell you that they don't know where that rumor came from, but oftentimes where there's smoke, there's fire, and certainly you want to figure out what the minimum amount that you need to do to move up is, and we'll see what those negotiations are like. LAFC have already said, according to Sam Stejskal, that they're willing to move the #1 pick. I think the LA Galaxy, after we talked to Siggy Schmidt the other day, and he said, look, we like Ola Kamara. We know we need to make a move up top. We don't have the allocation flexibility right now, perhaps, to make that deal. And Columbus Crew SC aren't going to be giving this guy away. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league. He's got 2 years left on his deal. They're under no rush here. Make sure you get the right price. 7 figures in allocation when you look at a guy like Nagby, when you look at a guy like Dom Dwyer. I mean, that would appear to be the minimum, and they have 2 incredible assets here that are kind of up in the air with Justin Meram. Stejskal also reporting today that the Portland Timbers are interested in Meram, but ultimately you got to meet the asking price. Neither of these guys are going anywhere anytime soon because of the productivity, because of their profile, because of what they mean to Columbus and the success that they help bring that club.
You mentioned Portland there. We sat down with Giovanni Savarese yesterday, and I was ready to run through a wall.
I think Giovanni Savarese could run through a wall.
Yeah, of course.
Literally.
I mean, that guy is pure power. One of the greatest goal scorers in Metro Stars history in just 2 years. What do you expect from his relationship with that city? What do you expect from that team? I mean, they were first in the West. It was a weak Western Conference. There's question marks and quality there for the Timbers.
Yeah, and you lose Nagby, and you start to have a little bit of a different identity. It's been all about Caleb Porter for, 5 years now. And so I think maybe Caleb realized it. I think maybe the club will realize it soon, that maybe a change was needed, just some fresh air for both himself and the club, and they seem to be active. Gio said that they're looking to make 3 or 4 moves here, and you see him linked to Andy Pola, Peruvian international down there in Liga MX. It seems that deal is close to being done. Sebastian Blanco is rumored with a move back, but I think we may be looking at a time in which the competition among highly paid players, the DPs and TAM players of the world, it's not just an assumption that you sign a guy or you keep a guy or he's making 7 figures or he's making, in the high 6s, that he's going to be an automatic starter for you. Competition in this league is going up, and so I think you look at that team and you know what the core is. You understand that from Ridgewell to Diego Chara to Diego Valeri and Blanco, assuming he sticks around here, you know who the leaders are, and now it's time to add some players that can can be difference makers as well. And Justin Merriam could be that for this team.
Final minute of this first half, 40-minute halves here at the 2018 Adidas MLS Player Combine. These players will get a rest, and then we will see some substitutions in the second half. Generation Adidas players on both sides, and Francis Atuene out of Michigan, as well as Ima Tumwasi out of Wake Forest. Some exciting young players on the bench for both these teams that we're looking forward to seeing. Is there anything draft-wise maybe that you're hearing from these teams, from players who people like, who's pushing up the boards?
You hear a lot about João Moutinho, and it's both extremely positive, and there's also some question marks just when it comes to his profile and his size. But, you know, he looks slight. He does not look like a guy that maybe could match up with the Fernando Adis and Josie Altidores of the world. But as you see this league transition a little bit, as you see teams value the ball a little bit more, he's a guy who can play a role and can be someone who not only won't lose it, but as many coaches and GMs have said, may not be as unable to deal with that sort of physicality as you might think based on just the eye test. He uses his body well. He keeps the ball. We'll see what happens with him, but I think in a three-man back line, that left foot certainly is valuable, and maybe he plays the left side. Maybe you look at a Michael Parkhurst type that he could be like if you pair him next to somebody a little bit more physical. He's a guy certainly to watch out for on this day.
Moutinho will start in our second game for Team Tango at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. He'll start at left back today after starting at left center back, so a chance, like Andrew said, to show his versatility and show that maybe he can play that position at the next level. But a player, as you said, everyone just in love with. I think everyone just in love with his soccer mind, his soccer ability, and the way he moves and reads the game. For Team Nemeziz right now, a 2-1 lead as they close out the final seconds of this first half against Team X in white. We'll see 6 or 7 substitutions in the second half. We expect Alex Roldan to come on and play in that holding midfield role for Team Nemeziz in place of Krolicki. We'll see John Gallagher out of Notre Dame, who's already been signed, come on and probably play on the wing. Brian White had a very good first half, helped set up a goal as well as draw the penalty kick that he finished off himself. The final minutes of the first half are played. Every coaching staff around the stadium here, all 23 in Major League Soccer. LAFC will make their first ever SuperDraft pick in just a few days. Andrew Wiebe will be hosting the SuperDraft coverage, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on MLSsoccer.com alongside Bobby Warshaw, Kalen Carr, Matt Doyle.
Susanna Collins on the draft floor.
Susanna Collins will
all
be
the
on the
interviews,
ground.
all the analysis you're looking for.
As that is our final whistle here. The 2-1 lead for the team in black, as they will now have a chance to go back in the locker room, make a couple changes, and we'll see some bright young players with some chances to prove here in just a few moments on MLSsoccer.com. Welcome back on MLSsoccer.com. The second half of the first game of day 2 of the adidas MLS Player Combine here at Orlando City Stadium. Team Nemeziz in black going right to left against Team X in white going left to right. Later on this afternoon, we'll have another stream for you. Team Tango, the blue squad, will face off against Team Predator. A number of big-time young players looking to make their mark in that one, including João Moutinho, who's been talked about as a potential #1 pick in this SuperDraft. Early attack here from Team X in white. It was Will Bagru out of Mercer University who just came on with the cross there. And now Team Nemeziz will go back the other way on the attack. John Gallagher, the Notre Dame Fighting Irishman, out of actually Ireland, charging up the field. And here, Ima Tumwasi, Generation Adidas signing out of Wake Forest University, a Right to Dream Academy player. Is it into the feet in the box? His cross comes in. Gallagher brings it down, looking for room to shoot. His left-footed shot is blocked. Gordon Wild there, trying to get the ball under control.
Assertive start for Acuna up top for the team in black. The first game, he didn't see much of the ball. His team was outplayed. So he'll want to come out and show affirmation early on.
So for Team Nemeziz, Marcelo Acuna out of Virginia Tech that Bobby mentioned, and Mason Toy, Generation Adidas forward signing out of Indiana University, playing up front in the middle alongside each other. They've got Ima Tumwasi out to one wing as that shot is powered over from outside the box.
Good decision by Roldan there. One thing these scouts and coaches will want to see is players playing within themselves. A defensive midfielder connecting passes and not trying to do something like score from outside the box.
Ricky Lopez Espin with that shot remaining in from the first half. As you mentioned, Alex Roldan playing at holding midfielder. John Gallagher on the left side of that diamond alongside him. For this squad in black, Wyatt Omsberg and Graham Smith remaining in for this second half, and Tim Kubel, the Louisville fullback, will be at right back for this Team Nemeziz squad. On the flip side, for Team X, making a whole host of changes as well. Carter Manley at right back, Andre Morrison, and Josh Morton continuing at center back. Morton on the ball, charging forward now. That touch just a little bit too long. Now a chance to break for Team Nemeziz. It's Gallagher running down the field. Keeps Paul Marie on his back. Acuna there linking up with Toy. Toy can't squirt through those two defenders.
Good read by Omsberg.
Omsberg closing there. Ben White, the left back from the first half for Team X, remaining in for this second half. Good interception made there by Chris Lemma, who will continue in to this second half. He'll be flanked in midfield by Brian Olowski, the UCLA player, and Paul Marie out of France, who's a player that has piqued a lot of coaches' interest. A front line for this Team X squad with Francis Acuna out on the left side, Will Bagru right down the middle, and then Gordon Wild, the last of the Generation Adidas class, out on the far right side. So a whole host of changes for these two teams. Lemma will remain in at that holding midfield role. More time for him to prove himself. Paul Marie pushes the ball forward. Wild cuts in on his favored left foot. Back now on his right, and he skims that shot wide.
One player we're both interested, David, in the second half is Paul Murray, who's played multiple positions, started at right back as a freshman, and slowly moved up the field as he got into his junior and senior year. And he says that he personally likes right back the most. It's a spot he'll probably play in MLS if he were to guess. But through the first 2 days, he's played a little farther up in attacking positions.
And Murray, as we mentioned, from France, but does have U.S. citizenship, so he won't count as an international if he does get drafted out of FIU.
Which is a really important note to make.
He was a French U16. He played the last 3 years with Reading United of PDL. Bobby, that's a program, a PDL squad, used to be run by Brendan Burke, who's now moved up to Bethlehem Steel working for the Philadelphia Union. But that's a program I'm sure you know fairly well. Andrew Wenger came out of it, but a whole host.
CJ Sapong, Matt Hedges. You could build a pretty good MLS team on guys that have come through that team.
And what does that PDL experience give these players? What does it give the coaches?
PDL is the most professional type experience you get of all the youth levels because you often move to that city. It's often generally all you do. You get put up with a host family. You eat, breathe, and sleep soccer without anything else to take up your time or your mind share.
Toy cross field ball. Brought down well on the far side by Argudo. Luis Argudo. Out of Wake Forest. Not a natural fullback, but has played there so far in this combine. Oloski back to help defensively. Acuna now in a battle with him. And TeamNemeziz comes away with it. Gallagher with some space on the top of the box. Morrison comes right through him. We saw him make a similar play in the first half, and this time the free kick will go against Morrison. Gallagher trying to find some space to get the shot away. He gets
one note about Morrison on his game through these first two games is he appears to be a guy where it's you know what you get. The problem with a lot of these college players is because the college game is different than the professional game, you think you're getting one thing and you get something else. But Morrison seems to be what you see on the page is what you can expect day in and day out, which is often more reliable to some clubs than not being sure and having to take a little bit of a guess on what kind of players are going to show up in preseason for them.
Acuna and Gallagher over this one. Gallagher 13 goals this year, 14 last year. And it'll be Acuna's strike, and it's wide of that near post. Marcelo Acuna out of Virginia Tech, transferred there from Houston Baptist, native of San Jose, Costa Rica. He was called up for Costa Rica's U20 squad in regional qualifying, the U20 World Cup.
David, I feel for these guys that have to come off the bench in this game because coming off the bench is hard in any game. It's always difficult. It really feels like you're literally getting thrown straight into the fire, which I know is cliche, but only getting a few minutes to warm up, going in when everyone else's intensity is 100%. You've just been sitting there making jokes and laughing with your teammates for the last 40 minutes. So to guys, especially in a game this high stakes with potentially their futures on the line, to have to get over that hurdle is tough. But at the same time, as we said early on, where there could be an issue is also an opportunity because a lot of these players will come off the bench in their first MLS season.
Acuna gets into the box, gets to the end line. Now a chance for Marie following up the play. His cross knocked away. Oloski and Acuna on the outside. Acuna brings it down, finds the feet of Oloski. Oloski now turns away from some pressure. Brian Oloski, a nice little layoff to Gordon Wild to start that attack for Team X. Bobby Gordon Wild, a lot of question marks around him. Was rumored to be a member of Generation Adidas class last year. Decided to go back to college as Gallagher, or excuse me, the foul there goes against Tim Kubel. Wild came back, struggled this year in college, now Generation Adidas. I think coming out here in halftime, just about 10 minutes played so far, he's seen much more active in this game. He knows what he has to prove.
And there's some guys who really just have a lot to gain from this experience, but Wild actually has a lot to prove.
Free kick clipped in towards the far post to Morrison, and he can't keep it in.
Wild does need to step up, especially coming off last game, being injured, coming off a mediocre season with Maryland. He really does have to lift his game and demonstrate to the coaches that he's ready.
Michael Nelson taking his time here on this goal kick. Nelson out of SMU, a very talented guitar player. As we found out yesterday, there'll be a video dropping soon on MLSsoccer.com. We put these young players through the ringer off the field to check out their hidden talents, see what they could bring to the locker room atmosphere of their teams as Toy tries to cut in field.
Nicely defended by Morrison again.
Now Gordon Wild with the ball. German native Gordon Wild came over to the U.S., started at USC Upstate, exploded as a goal scorer for that team, and then transferring to Maryland University to play under Sasha Sarovsky, one of the best and biggest names in college soccer. And Wild hit the ground running for that program, putting up 17 goals in 2016. Nelson able to make that play as Bagru haphazardly or half-effortly ran towards him. This is Roldan on the ball. Alex Roldan, younger brother of Christian, who has won one MLS Cup with Seattle, and Alex played college at Seattle University, following up his brother's legacy in the city. Roldan, of course, like his brother, has both U.S. and El Salvadoran citizenship. Christian Roldan making the decision to represent the U.S. national team just a year ago, heading into the Gold Cup. Ball played over the top. Omsberg with the clearance. And Bobby, this combine, this draft still holds an interesting place in Major League Soccer as the academies grow, youth development changes, but Christian Roldan, an example of a primetime player that you can get out of this draft. And one of the things you talked about with a lot of guys is Tumwasi gets into the box, trying to find an opening. Morrison able to close him down now. Lopez Espin on the top. Oloski defensively falls over, and Gallagher now will get a shot away, and it's blocked down. But you talk to a lot of these guys, Bobby, a lot of attacking players who, want to be number 10s, want to be center forwards, about positional change. Christian Roldan was one of the best attacking midfielders in the country, and he's played as a number 6, a number 8, as a right back. How do players learn that transition? What has Christian done that's made him open enough to take that risk? And
it's one reason, that transition that was one reason that Roldan is at a better...
A long strike there from Wild. Almost caught Nelson going the wrong way. And Nelson gets out on the second one, but Gordon Wild, a bright start here to the second half.
Yeah, that transition moving back on the field is one of the reasons that Roldan has had a better second and third year than first year. He got through some injuries and through some fortune. He was able to get on the field and just learn that first year. But defensive midfield is one of the positions that takes details, it takes nuance, it takes a little bit of savvy. Unlike winger, where you can just step right in and do your thing, you really need to pay attention to every little detail of defensive mid, and it's often one that takes a couple years to learn. But when I say that, David, I'm one of these people that says up front that a lot of these kids in the field should accept that they're not going to make it at number 9 or number 10 at the professional level and move back, because their skill set is probably good enough and their skill on the ball is probably good to play center back or defensive mid or outside back, but not quite good enough at number 10. So they should take that advantage that they have in skill on the ball and learn at a new spot that gives them a higher chance to play in MLS.
Manley heads it down to Murray. Murray's cross blocked down by Omsberg and then cleared there by Lopez Espin. Looks like Acuna lost the ball in the sun. Lema will push it back to the feet of Morrison. Is the professional level not too late for guys to learn a new position? You're playing against players who have played that position their whole life.
Your back's up against the wall. It's obviously a little tougher, but no, it's not too late. Especially one of the drawbacks to MLS right now is we're still getting a little tactical variability. We're still getting a little tactical development to the league. So to learn the tactical details of each position is a little harder because they're not that developed yet. It's the next stage of MLS. So we'll see coaches like Greg Burkhalter, like Patrick Vieira, Greg Vanny. These guys are finding competitive advantage by creating more developed and complex systems. But as of right now, yeah, it's still a little easier to learn a new position in MLS because there's not a lot of details you have to learn.
Wild chest that one down. Manley now will cycle the ball. Lemma goes back out wide for Wild. Gordon Wild is into the feet of Marie, whose shot goes just over the crossbar.
See how he hit that top spin there? When we were growing up, David, however long ago that was, we were taught to shoot straight through the ball, maybe knuckle it, maybe get a little outside of the foot action. Kids today try and do this action with the inside of their foot where it comes down and goes up and over the ball to get top spin or curls it, top right to bottom left. And it's a difficult skill to learn, but Marie did it well there, just missing by a couple feet.
Bobby, tell people what you mean by complex systems in terms of what is it that MLS teams are going to start doing, or what is it that Greg Vanney has already done with their team that makes the way they play so much different as Morrison's able to head that ball back to the hands of Christensen, different from what we saw 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, it's little things, right? So when you look at a team's defensive shape, if you're watching this game right now, look at where the black team, the team in black is setting up, and look at their spacing, right? Every foot and every yard matters in soccer. So guys like Greg Berhalter are nailing in.
Marie now with the cross to the far post. And now Tuhene. His header goes up over the crossbar. Francis Tuhene out of Ghana. The Michigan Wolverine is a double-digit goal scorer for that team. Marie once again getting around the ball. And now Tuhene just couldn't get that header down.
Yeah, David, so some coaches are really making every yard and every foot matter in their system. And when you have more details like that, you can build more complex systems. So if you have a guy and you can trust that he's going to be in this exact spot, then the next 2 or 3 guys behind him, you can also give strict, complex instructions. And in doing so, your team, your unit as 11 players, can think in a more complicated way, which allows you to have more variance in your system.
So it's not a predetermined positioning and style. It's here's more options and more things to read, to check through while you're playing.
If I were to put it in one phrase, it's attention to detail.
Okay.
It's not, hey, there's the ball, let's go put pressure on the ball and try and get his head down. It's if this is happening, then we can put pressure on the ball.
His body stance is this
Correct.
way, and he's in this part of
Correct.
the field.
And if we get pressure on the ball, you need to accomplish this for our team so that the 6 guys behind you can go to these spots because the only place he can pass it.
Big tackle made on the top of the box there.
Look at Acuna's run here. Look at his run. Nicely done. Good way to the pass and rolled on.
Acuna now has Morrison out wide.
Intelligent decision.
Back to the feet of Roldan now. Tumwasi posting up Manley.
Like how Tumwasi takes out the outside of his foot, keeps his balance right to hold off the center defender.
And now the switch of the field from Krolicki.
Not a good decision from Krolicki. In that spot, you've got to connect your passes. You don't have to make anything special happen. You've got to keep your team in flow and get it to the guys, quite frankly, in Major League Soccer right now, who make millions of dollars to make that pass. Not the guy out of college. So one thing that these guys have to learn is play within yourselves. Do what you can to help the team. So it's not just your ability on the ball and how you execute the passes, but it's your decision to do what you can to help your team as a whole.
Bagru one-on-one here with Smith. Smith's able to make that play. Help out enough defensively for his team to clear their lines.
So having talked to a coach who's from one of these systems we're talking about, one thing he mentioned that I said earlier is they're not just looking what happens around the ball. They're looking for the 3 or 4 seconds. So if we look here, is Roldan checking his shoulders? Is he making sure he's cutting out lanes? It's not so much about...
Manley here gets this cross away. Alive in the box for Oloski. First shot is blocked. No second opportunity coming for Team X. And a mistake on the pass out of the back there. Looked like Luis Argudo was the one who tried to play that out. Offside call.
Yeah, so as we watch these guys in each action, when a player's on the ball, what you want to look for, what these coaches will look for, is not just who's on the ball, but say the guy that's in front of him defending him, for example. Is he just staring right at the ball, or is he looking at the players in relation to the space and angles around him? Does he realize that it's not just with the ball that matters, but the fact that the player on the other team, that the other team's number 10, is coming off his left shoulder, and he needs to step 1 foot to the left. So always look in these games, and really any game, at the players around the ball in the 2 or 3 seconds before the ball arrives to them.
I can confirm John Gallagher did look over his shoulder before he received that ball. Now Argudo on the ball, back to Gallagher. Tumwasi looking to play a 1-2. He gets it to himself and then defended away. Marie there slips it by Argudo.
One thing about Gallagher's game that concerns me, and it's the same thing I say about Chris Mueller, and I addressed it with Chris Mueller in the War Room, that the video that go up on MLSsoccer.com, is when you're the best player in your college team, it allows you the freedom to carry the ball, to try and be the man that makes the play. And if you look at Gallagher when he gets it, his first look is up into space, because that's what he's asked to do. He's asked to find the runners, to try and find the goal. It's not a pass-first player, and that's something you have to acknowledge. So the question is, it's not what was Gallagher a good college soccer player, it's in what way was he a college soccer player, and can that help our system? Do we want a guy that wants to attack space, that wants to find the final pass? Too many MLS teams right now are drafting players like Gallagher and then asking him to be a passer, then asking him to play simple. And if that's not who he is, you're drafting somebody different than he was as a college player.
Morrison with the tackle there, put it out for the throw-in. Toy now gets it to his right foot, and his strike curling, but always over the crossbar.
Morrison with a strong first half today. As we said, you wouldn't draft Morrison expecting to get Matt Hedges. But if you're looking for someone like Morrison,
An Aurelian Collin type.
yeah.
A guy who attacks the ball.
Exactly. Which is important in MLS. As we said, as we start to develop tactical nuance in the league, right now it's still often a little hectic. There's still players pressing. There's still open spaces. Do I have a center back that can cover that ground, that can make tackles in open field is exciting. You know, and it's not to say that having more developed tactics is better or worse. Some exciting teams, some teams with a lot of tactical nous can't play with MLS teams because they can't deal with the pressure, they can't deal with the aggression, they can't deal with the competitiveness.
Manley slides the ball down the line. Gordon Wild here, trying to get to his favorite left foot, puts the right-footed cross in though. It's headed away at the far post.
I'd like to see Gordon Wild get the ball around his teammates more often. It seems whenever he gets the ball in possession, he's a little isolated, which is the way he likes to play. He's a 1v1 guy. I'd like to see him tuck in a little more and try and find himself in relation to other two or three players around him so he can bind a little quicker.
Bobby Wild, the player who isn't really a winger, as you mentioned, but goal scoring is so tough. If a guy has that natural ability, don't you want him around the 18?
Absolutely. No, it's a really good point, David. And these are the kinds of things, admittedly, that when I think about soccer, I find it tough to conceptualize. But you're right. There's some coaches who see a guy with an electric left foot with good pace who can find a shot, who can find the goal, will really like that and really value that.
And understands that positioning in the box, right? That one hard move to get open.
Absolutely.
Not 90 minutes of movement, but those 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
This cross is played in. Bobby, the transition from college to the pros, that step up, is that the biggest step in soccer quality that you ever faced? Was it the first time you played youth international? Was it going into college?
That step, yes. There's 2 games. There's 2 times when I was really overwhelmed in my life. The first was at the Pan American Games with the under-18 national team. We played the under-20 Mexican national team, and it was the least I've ever touched the ball in my entire life. It was a team consisting of Chance Myers, Kevin Alston, Jaleel Anibaba, Omar Gonzalez. We had a good team, and we go down, we play at Americana in Brazil, and we just got dominated. And that's one day I said to myself, I need to get better on the ball. The next was that first week in preseason in MLS. We play a friendly against the Houston Dynamo, and I match up in center mid against Jeff Cameron. And Cameron is big and strong and fast and comfortable on the ball. And I just said to myself, I have a long way to go. That was a really depressing bus ride on my ride home.
Jeff Cameron, the 44th pick in the MLS SuperDraft.
Out of?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, and started at?
What do you mean? What college?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Transferred in from West Virginia.
I did not know that. I knew he went to Rhode Island. He's a Massachusetts guy through and through now, of course, playing for Stoke City. U.S. full international. What do you make of finding a U.S. international at the 44th pick in the MLS SuperDraft? Is it just sometimes there's no formula and there's only so much scouting you can do?
It's something we hear about often. It's what Chris Bondi said about Wyatt Omsberg and Dartmouth, that there is still a small school bias. If an MLS team only has so many resources to contribute to their scouting efforts, they've got to go to the games that have more college prospects, and that still involves the bigger schools, ACC, Pac-10 schools, Maryland, Stanford, Akron, UCLA. So they're unlikely to go to the smaller schools and scout these guys. So coming out of Rhode Island, this is tough for a guy like Jeff Cameron.
Chris Bondi, of course, former #1 pick, now currently the head coach of not a small school at all, one of the powerhouses in the country in almost every sport. That's Northeastern University in Boston. Pretty good broadcasting program as well.
Heard decent alumni out of there.
Yeah, really good men's league co-ed players as well. Paul Marie charging into space. Gallagher doing work to get back and help out.
Paul Marie needed to step with his left foot and box out the guy from coming in. It would have caused a foul and likely a yellow card in an MLS game.
Marie takes that free kick quickly. Lemma now cycles it to Ilaski.
Chris Lemma having a good game, huh?
doing exactly what he does, right? Just facilitating the game, not too much.
Checking his shoulders, checked his left, checked his right, gets the ball on his front foot, and moves it quickly. What's next?
Now Wild coming in field a little bit. He's got Manley outside into the feet of Marie
Great
in the
first
box.
touch. Lemma.
Back to Lemma.
Again, a simple pass.
Olaski now trying to lay it off for Atunye, not to Hene. Can't get that ball wide, and now Ben White pushing up the field from his fullback position.
So Lemma needs to be careful. He vacated his central spot. Olaski's smart to take it.
Carter Manley had made the run. He watched Ben White make his run from left back. Manley sliding back and more infield, as you mentioned, as Lemma left that spot.
Good recognition by Manley, but certainly something that will concern MLS coaches that a defensive midfielder could go wide, and then not only go wide, but play across. It could have turned into a turnover, but Manley showed well for himself there. Good spot, David.
As a number 6, how different is it playing with a number 8 alongside you, playing in a 4-man midfield, a 3-man midfield? How different is that role, or is your role always stick in the middle and protect that back line?
No, it's very different, and this is something we don't talk about often enough in the American soccer dialogue, that the kind of players around you matters a lot. In Canadian, you're right, matters a lot.
Ball played in for Toy, and Christensen able to beat him to that ball.
Toy showing off the pace as coach is so excited. Not many players could have made that competitive or put the goalkeeper in a tough spot. But yeah, you're exactly right. The kind of players you have around you really impacts the way you play. If there's a guy who likes short passes, he needs other guys who want to play short passes, and he'll give him the angles and the spacing to make those passes. If a guy makes good, deep, good late runs into the box, then he needs a central midfield partner who can recognize that and stay. If a guy who doesn't like to get into the box ever and likes to stay really disciplined, he might need a more versatile and aggressive center midfielder. So absolutely, how coaches view these pairings can definitely get the most out of a player.
Seems like one of those players in MLS who, depending on who he's with, can be one of the best players in the league, or other times like lost Tony Chani.
Exactly.
Off the charts ability, and when he looks comfortable, he looks like a full international, and other times, a lot of games, he'll make big mistakes.
Spot on. One guy I want to point out here, David, that's had a strong game but quiet is Acuna up top. He hasn't completed a lot of passes. He's even getting a few away, but he's been battling with the big center backs. He's been doing the dirty work for his team, trying to relieve pressure.
Manley steps up to win that ball. Up the line for Wild, who keeps it in. He's got Bagru in front of him and Marie to his left. He plays it down the line for Bagru, who thought he was onside. The flag goes up.
One observation about Wild's game, and you're right, I don't mean to discredit him because he is very much a goal finder, both in scoring and assisting, but he's often just thinking one step ahead. As he gets with better players who can combine with him, it'll do him well to think 2-3 steps ahead. So how can my pass lead to the next combination that leads to the final pass to goal?
Gallagher has it taken off his foot, but back to his teammate, Tumwasi. His ball across the field is kept in by Argudo. Argudo laying it all the way back, and now Toy has it taken off him. Switch to the field here to Wild. A little bit of space to run into. Nemeziz in black, getting back and recovering. TeamNemeziz with a 2-1 lead. All the goals coming in the first half still for these two teams. Andre Morrison got us started. And now his teammate, Atua Hene, was trying to follow up his wonder strike with one of his own, and it hit the crossbar.
That is what you're talking about with Gordon Wild. Players who can make that special play, that pass, inch perfect into the stride of Atua Hene. And credit to Atua Hene, took that tough ball off his chest, straight at goal. Didn't waste a single moment of that attack. Two players that did well there.
Atua Hene maybe hasn't had the game or the combine that he'd want to, but I think of the generation of Adidas attackers, I think he's stood out as the best so far. And those generation Adidas players are always going to be taken earlier on. They're younger. They don't hit your salary cap in the same way, and all of these guys have the potential maybe to even transfer on later on in their careers. Gallagher pushing forward. He's got one run from Acuna, and his pass goes straight off of Manley there.
It's the second or third time Tumasi hasn't been sharp in his runs. We know he's got ability in the ball, but his movement could have been better.
For a guy who maybe where fitness is a problem here, these teams haven't played for a little while. These guys haven't played because of the college season ending. Do you hold that against them, or do you think when they come into preseason we'll get them in shape? That's not what I'm worried about.
I'm
think about everything?
I would say that it's all in your mind. And we use that line too often. But these are young kids who can play a lot of soccer. To say that you're tired is much more of a mental aspect in something like this than a physical. And sure, it's a lot of soccer in just a few days. I won't say that's not true. But it's the guys who won't think about it. The guys who just like playing soccer say, screw it. Give me the rock. I want to do this every single day.
Wild gets the ball from Lemma. Trying to get by Omsberg. His shot at the near post is saved. And it'll go out for a corner kick. Gordon Wild, completely different story from day one of the Combine, in which he went off early, didn't make much of an impact. He's been around the play and around the ball all of this second half here. Wild goes all the way back to Lemma. Lemma now beats one defender. Back to the feet of Olaski. Looking for some space to get a shot away. It's tackled, and now TeamNemeziz is on the break.
Lemma left his spot again. He vacated the defensive midfield spot, and they come right down the middle. That's a better run by Tumasi.
Charging down, gets the first ball to Tumasi. Tumasi lays it back for Acuna, whose shot I thought was deflected, but it goes out for a goal kick, and Acuna looks like agrees. Roldan here leading the break.
Love that run by Acuna out wide. Vacates the central, a very unselfish run, which you love to see from any attacker, and particularly a young one. And then another good counter run by Tumasi. They read each other's movements. Acuna peels wide. Tumasi goes right down the middle. And because he's running full speed, it was the perfect pass by Gallagher into his stride.
TeamNemeziz leading 2-1. Still trying to put the nail in the coffin if they can. And, of course, all these players trying to take advantage of every minute they have. 40-minute halves here at the Adidas Player Combine. So less than 10 minutes to go here on day 2 between these two squads. We've got another game coming up in just a few minutes after this one. Team Tango against Team Predator at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There's Mueller, the man from Wisconsin who had 20 assists this year, and Edwin Apoku on the two wings for Team Tango. And on the flip side for Team Predator, you've got Corey Brown and Justin Fittis, two high-level prospects on the back line, as well as Albert Ruiz, a big-time goal scorer out of Florida Gulf Coast University up top, who had a goal already in this Combine.
Can Morrison open his hips? He's staring too much at the ball right now.
Shot comes from Gallagher, and it's too high. John Gallagher, a fan of Miley Cyrus, as we found out yesterday. He likes to party in the USA for an Irishman. Very interesting song to choose. I appreciate his enjoyment of America. Olaski. We've seen him operate a lot on the left side, Bobby. Now playing a little bit shifted over to the right. Tumwasi and Manley collide. Carter Manley still down. Duke Blue Devil.
Either the ball or the man, David. Either the ball or the man. Manley did his job there.
You shall not pass, said Carter Manley.
Hey, let's talk Chris Lemma for a second, because we've been pretty complimentary to him all game. But that's twice now he's vacated the spot in the middle of the field. And I just wondered if the coach is watching, does everything he do with the ball matter less in those minutes, those moments he vacates the middle?
Now they play the corner kick short to him. The ball comes back out to him.
You know what,
on the
David?
top of the
You kick it to row Z before you vacate your middle of the field.
So you say just cross the ball in, even or clip that ball in, even if it's not the best play, rather than take the risk of if you lose it, they're on the break.
Listen, we've talked a lot about soccer changing. One of the things that changed about soccer is everyone wants to pass and play, and if you don't connect the pass, it's not well done. But at the end of the day, your job as a defensive midfielder is to protect that spot in the field. And if you're not there, it makes it so much easier for your opponent to score. They can come right down the middle unopposed. And it's okay as a defensive midfielder to say, I don't care as much about passing the soccer ball as I do about protecting my defense. And then it's be okay if Chris Lemma got that ball and kicked it to Rosie and then turned and yelled at whoever passed him the ball there. Because his job at the end of the day isn't just to connect passes, it's to protect his defense, and he must do that at all times. So it's not just Chris Lemma that should be yelling at the guy passing him the ball there, but his two center backs.
So it looks like Lucas Stauffer coming on for Graham Smith. Wyatt Omsberg will slide into that center back role. Tim Kubel going to left back, and Lucas Stauffer going out wide to his right back position. Stauffer, another solid day, I think. Wild into the feet of Marie.
Nice pass by Wild. A good chance for Kubel in the second half, because you talk to people about him. Very good on the ball, good soccer player, intelligent. Questions are about his athleticism. So now in the 3-back system on the side, he'll have that whole channel to protect. So he'll have a chance to run up against guys like Manley and Wild and prove that he has the athleticism to play at the next level.
Miloski trying to feed it in to the feet of Bagru. Acuna and Toy with a little 1-2 work up top. Toy's pass, not enough juice on it, and Morton sweeps it back to his keeper.
There's going to be some coaches that are happy about Toy's performance these last couple games, and not because he's played well, because he's underperformed. He's going to get taken. He's gotten the raw potential, the raw talent, and they feel with his age he'll be able to develop. So there's coaches who are happy to see him not play that well because he'll slide down the draft board and somebody will get a steal.
Mason Toy out of South Orange, New Jersey. Spent a little bit of time with the Red Bulls Academy, but bounced around playing a number of sports, and so ended up maybe a little underrated going into Indiana University. 11 goals in his freshman year. Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and now Generation Adidas signing. Atua Hene gets to the end line. His cross goes off Bagru and out for a goal kick.
Atua Hene, who you thought had a very good first day.
I thought that he could have played better, but I thought of the, especially Generation Adidas attacking signings, he had the best day. I think from him, it's very direct, but he has a little bit more nuance to his game in terms of throwing defenders off rather than only trying to use his speed. He at least had some change of pace, using his touch, using runners around him to at least get a beat on defenders, and then using his pace to open up the play. That was a good strike he put off the crossbar.
It was a very good strike.
Roldan earns the free kick. Alex Roldan playing in the number 6 role. He played there in the first game as well as at fullback.
David, one thing I don't think we fully said about his brother Christian is that Christian Roldan actually had a very poor combine. Slid down the draft board because of performances. So it's interesting that his brother is now potentially running up the draft boards with a couple good games here.
Roldan dropped on draft day as Manley. It's turned inside. Tumwasi tries to clip it over the goalkeeper and puts it over everything. Christensen plays quickly. Of course, Team X in white, about 3 minutes left, trailing 2-1 in this game. It's not all about winning, but these players, true competitors and trying to show they can be difference makers at the MLS level. As Wild's pass is intercepted. Dangerous pass back towards Stauffer. And the goalkeeper able to at least clear it up the field. Christian Roldan, of course, dropped. The trade between RSL and Seattle just to swap one pick was the difference. Christian Roldan, one of the leading lights, 2016 MLS Cup final to get Seattle over the hump in Toronto.
Does he deserve a U.S. men's national team future?
I think absolutely right now. I don't know if he does anything great, but he does a lot of things good. And you know that he's going to play his role, whatever the coach asks him to do, and still has a ceiling to grow into. This one crossed, knocked down by Stauffer. Chance to counter now. Kubel with the pass across the field to Tumwasi. One-on-one now with Manley. Tumwasi coming in on his right foot. Sprays it wide to a teammate. Argudo not able to get his touch clean. And Toy now following up the play. And Toy will take it to the corner to waste some time here.
Bonus points for that, for sure, for the people watching.
Argudo now tries to come in field. Acuña's pass is intercepted. It'll go out for a corner kick for Team Nemeziz. Carter Manley there. Defensively, he kept Tumwasi from scoring.
He did. He got exposed a little bit. Guy who played mostly center back or in a 3-5-2 in the middle in college. Certainly hasn't been used to being drawn out wide and having to deal with wingers running him. So he got exposed a little bit the first time, but did better that time.
Gallagher will go short to Toy. Now comes in field. His pass intercepted.
Well done by Krolicki and Roldan, holding their positions. We talked yesterday about how the fact that the 3 points doesn't really matter, but coaches want to see that the players know how to get the 3 points and care about getting the 3 points. So for Toy to go to the corner, for Krolicki and Roldan to stay at home, will reflect well.
Ulowski pointing to Tuahene. Tuahene puts the ball on the plate for him. It's just an inch too far, and Ulowski can't get his foot around it. It goes out for a goal kick. That might be it here, as we have hit the 80th minute mark on the first game of the second day of the 2018 Adidas Player Combine. Team Nemeziz leading right now. A penalty kick earned and scored by Brian White in the first half to go along with his assist from the first game. And Isika Namwero out of Ghana, U17 international, scored the second goal, the assist by Mohamed Chow on his goal. It was all started by Andre Morrison, the center back for Team X. A upper corner strike off the volley to open up this game in the 5th minute. Acuna curls that shot right on the hands of Christensen, who punches it wide.
Stinks to see Morton make that pass. He's had a solid game. For him to give that giveaway at the end, he doesn't deserve to go home feeling bad about his performance.
I think Acuna is a guy who will be much happier second day after first day of games. Just as you said, efficient movement, dangerous movement, has shown quality in striking the ball and playing some passes.
Absolutely. Everyone on this Team Nemeziz has been a little better than they were last game. Time will tell how good Team Predator is, but Team Nemeziz should definitely feel better about the way they've played.
Right now, Team X trying to find an opening. Manley out wide. Plays the cross in towards Tuahene. Rolls back now to Lemma. Lemma with the left-footed strike. Gordon Wild with the chance. And a save made in the end by Nelson. Wild was looking for any half chance to get one away. And this might be it for this one. Mason Toy has tried to take the air out of this game and kill it a few times. So big takeaways, Bobby, from this first game?
Just so it's nice to see Team Nemeziz rebound. There's been a lot of good physical performances, but just to see them mentally get outplayed in the first game, but then come back with a chip on their shoulder and really feel like they had something to prove and really step up and not get down on themselves. With so much on the line for their futures, it's easy to think that you're screwed with one bad game. So to come out and feel like you've still got hope is nice to see from young players.
Who's a big winner or two for you from this game so far?
Krolicki has definitely put in a better performance in the first game. He's done what he had to do to make up for his giveaways. He's had a higher pass
Toy
completion.
gets by one, and Acuna is able to sweep this one in. It'll be a 3-1 victory for Team Nemeziz. Mason Toy dancing down that end line past Morrison. Sets up Acuna, who scores it on his second chance.
That's another one. Morrison having a good game as well until this very end, injury time. But that's a telling moment. That's what Morrison's going to struggle with. When he comes up against pacey, quick strikers, can he deal with it? And as we were saying earlier, there were coaches who were very happy to see Mason Toy struggle these first two games, who are now upset that he put in a move like that and reminded everyone what he can do.
Mason Toy, freshman phenom at Indiana University, playing under his head coach, Todd Yeagley.
To give you a couple other names and did well, Chris Lemma was very, very good on the ball. He needs to have someone rein him in a little bit who makes these poor tactical decisions unacceptable. Olowski looked good again. It was nice to see Garasi get on the ball a little more often to contribute to the game. Last game he struggled to find ways to help his team. Morrison was very good until the very end. As I said, Morrison is not going to step in and be an MLS best 11, it doesn't seem. But you just know what you're going to get.
Wyatt Omsberg and Graham Smith, question marks around them as center backs. What did you see from their performances?
It's just so hard to judge center backs on this because we're watching, we get our first view, and we're going to pay attention to the guys that make plays. But Omsberg, we just haven't said his name the first two games, and that's probably a good thing for a center back.
Absolutely. A lot still to prove. 2 more teams that are ready to come out and show what they have to these coaching staffs around us as LAFC will get the draft started at 11 a.m. on Friday on MLSsoccer.com. We've got Team Tango versus Team Predator right here on MLSsoccer.com. We'll be right back with all of that action.